Hello friends, this is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming and welcome to another Path of Exile build video. Today we're going to go over another budget build, and this one is very cheap. The entire four kind of uniques that we're utilizing cost about 1 chaos total, so an elk each for the princess. We have like alt for the skullhead and alt for Hrimsorrow. And the build is actually a cold conversion blade vortex, but it can also be used with a couple of other skills. Blade fall could possibly be used with glacial cascade, and it uses the nodes down here, the winter spirit nodes, to convert a portion of your physical damage into cold damage, and then Hrimsorrow as well. And the reasoning for that is so that we can utilize a lot of extra cold penetration. So we have cold penetration from Mastermind of Discord if we're using Herald of Ice, and then of course the cold penetration support as well. And you can also get some cold penetration from Wise Oak. That one's about 5 chaos, so it's a little bit more expensive. In fact, it's probably more expensive than all of the rest of my gear combined, but the build is capable of clearing red maps, and it actually feels pretty good up to a point. Now I purposely am running some pretty kind of crappy gear here. So we have this ring, which is, you know, life triple resist, but it's nothing special. The resists are pretty low. We have this 5 link, which I bought for you can get the similar kind of thing for in between 1 chance and 4 alts currently in Synthesis League, and all I did was alt spam it. It took like less than 20 alts until I got a high resist on it, and then I got the evasion energy shield hybrid, regaled it, and then for 2 alchemies it was I put on the 66 life, so relatively cheap there as well. I have this amulet here, which is nothing special. It does have a lot of mana regen, but other than that, I think I got this out of the temple. Yeah, it's got the Zopex mod on it, which is pretty nice for mana sustain, because as you can see, we only have 48 mana unreserved currently, and part of that is because we have our Herald of Ice linked with Ice Bite and Onslaught. But with the reduced reservation of Herald skills, it's actually pretty reasonable to run double Herald and Hatred with this. And if you have another way to get Onslaught, you can take Onslaught out. It gives you a little bit more of a cushion, but not really noticeable, and I never really have mana issues. My mana regen's high enough just with the mana regen here and in quick recovery. I think that's pretty much everything I have for mana regen. So really nice, really convenient. I do have some mana regen on this ring as well. It's life, all resist, and then I crafted on the mana regen, and I have the mana from that as well. And the best pieces of gear I have are probably my boots and my belt. They're a pretty decent belt. I haven't even bothered crafting anything onto it. And then, yeah, the boots are pretty good too. 30 movement speed, decently high life, and I got the high evasion and double resist. So, alright boots. But as you can see, nothing special. All this gear is perfectly attainable, perfectly reasonable to get. You might have to invest a little bit more into mana regen, like grab Arcane Will and maybe even this one as well, the mana reservation, or mana and mana regeneration. Alternatively, you can also grab the charisma, but basically how you start out leveling this build, you may want to level with a skill other than Blade Vortex, to be honest, maybe like a Stormbrand or something, because this does start off pretty slow since you do have to travel a lot. So Blade Vortex isn't that great of a leveling skill, and if you want to prioritize getting areas, you're not going to have a lot of area in the beginning. I tried leveling with Blade Fall, and it wasn't that great either for quite a long time, so I went like Blade Vortex into Blade Fall. It was a little bit slow. I don't know if I would recommend it, but yeah, just get a standard powerful leveling skill and then switch over later on. But yeah, you'll pop up through Arcanist Dominion and go over and grab Deep Wisdom through the Heart and Soul. We're going to save all the crit for later. So I traveled down. I actually traveled through here and then respec once I came up to get this crit. These 2 points away because it's faster to travel through at that point. And I actually shot straight down through Trickery, Blood Siphon, and Coordination. Came over here. I don't even think I grabbed Revenge of the Hunted. And I was pretty squishy while leveling too, so that was another downside. It's going to be a lot easier if you have a lot of leveling gear like Tabula Rasa, that kind of thing. Some nice stuff to help out with leveling. And if you have a lot of powerful damage leveling gear as well. But we do grab Acrobatics and Phase Acrobatics. Went down here through Herbalism, and then we got Winter Spirit. Now, if you're going to level with Stormbrand all the way to the end of the game, you can put this off until later and instead go over and travel to the Templar tree, grab Quick Recovery, Retribution, Amplify, Discipline Training, and these as well, Holy Dominion and Light of Divinity. But as you can see, we travel pretty much everywhere. I'll go over the links here in a second, but I just want to give you an idea. We are all over the tree here, but we do kind of stay centralized to the starting points, and we travel through the quickest route, so it's not that bad. Only 4670 life currently, but yeah, as you can see, we have a lot of life we can get from the different points. A lot of upgrading we can do, and that is pretty much that for the tree. We get all the area we can get for the most part. That's, with attainable, we get blast radius. Once we get everything, all the traveling done, we do start getting some spell crit. So we get it from nimbleness, we get it from relation, we get it from Doomcast, we get the assassination actually pretty early on because we just travel through there. Eventually I also picked up Heartseeker, took a little bit longer there, and I'm currently level 84, and I plan on possibly picking up Throatseeker after I get a couple of more life nodes down here. So gonna get a little bit more life, try to get close to 5k. Now, if I wasn't going budget, I probably just would have gotten all the jewel sockets I'm close to. I'm close to like 3 jewel sockets. Getting life and then some other beneficial effects on those would probably be more beneficial than spending the extra 2 points to travel here to some pretty mediocre life nodes. So that's something you can consider if you do have some nice jewels. I would recommend physical damage on abyssal jewels with flat life, of course, and cold damage is fine as well, but you get a much higher conversion rate if you're getting flat physical as compared to flat cold, with all the extra Fizz's Lightning you get from Hatred and the 2 princesses. The princess. So that's something to consider. Otherwise, you can just use a regular jewel with physical damage, just regular damage, and percent life. Try to get 7% life if you're going to get the jewels instead. So just another way this build can be very easily upgraded well beyond what it is and what I'm going to currently show you. So we'll look at the sockets now. I have Immortal Call, cast when damage taking increased duration. I didn't add this until later, which was to my detriment because I had my links set up really weird. I still do have them set up a little weird, but I would recommend getting that pretty early on if you can manage it. So we get the Immortal Call. This isn't very high level. It's only 725 damage to trigger, but that's because we have low life. Once I get over 5,000, I'll probably upgrade this one more level along with the Immortal Call one more level. That's just a random concentrated effect. We are using Frostbite, Hatred, and Herald of Purity. Here we have our Flame Dash, faster casting Arcane Surge to give us that extra more damage every time. So, and also the mana regen helps. As a base, we're at 2463, which is really low, but you get more damage for every stack of Blade Vortex. So we're going to get that mana regen, and as you can see, it's up to over 11,000, which is also misleading because that doesn't count the more damage we get after we chill with Hypothermia, which is 38%, which is actually rather huge. And it also doesn't factor in cold penetration, so we're actually getting a couple of additional more multipliers on there. So it's probably it's a much higher number, and that's on a 5 link as well. So you don't actually get to see all the damage that you get here. What we have linked with our Blade Vortex is cold penetration, Hypothermia, which is extremely powerful and one of the reasons to run it. The chance to freeze enemies that are chilled is really nice, and then the 38% more damage with hits and ailments against chilled enemies is huge. So really big one there. Spell Echo gives us all that, the double blade vortex cast. Since we don't have any duration, it's the only way we realistically get extra. Now, once we get our 6th link, probably going to add efficacy, and that'll help out. And then of course we have controlled destruction. We do have crit, but we even without a diamond flask or anything, we actually have a decent crit chance on this. 22.56%. It's not super high, but it's not that bad. And you can also replace controlled destruction. I think you're getting a lot more damage with controlled destruction as compared to using the increased critical strikes gem. Might make it a little bit more consistent if you use increased critical strikes. So as far as the 6th link goes, you can use efficacy, you can use increased critical strikes, or you could use just added cold damage. I would probably prefer efficacy myself, but I could definitely see the case for using increased critical strikes. Once we have efficacy, we could potentially maybe get rid of Spell Echo as well, which would probably, since we'll have a little bit more duration. Another thing we could do is just go down and grab Potency of Will over the course of the next few levels, which is also an option. I might do that. That way I can get rid of Spell Echo. And granted, Spell Echo does mean that you're probably charging up for a lesser period of time, but that is definitely the case. But now we're going to get to Herald of Ice, which we have with Ice Bite and Onslaught. I've talked about this in some recent videos, just passive benefit you get Frenzy charges, you get Onslaught, and I have Frost Bomb to further reduce cold resistance. So we're getting huge cold resistance reduction. So a grand total, we have 25 from our Ascendancy, we get 43, so that's 68. We get another 36, so that's going to be 104%. And then Frost Bomb can give another 25%. So that's a very, very large amount of reduced cold resistance. And just oh yeah, and of course we have the Wise Oak as well. If you can't afford a Wise Oak, just use a Diamond Flask. That'll drastically increase your damage as well. Since our crit damage is fairly low, our base crit damage is. So I would recommend that. Now, one of the upgrade paths you have here are you would want to get scepters that have high spell crit, maybe cold damage is extra chaos, elemental penetration is always good. You would want physical damage is extra damage of a random element is good, spell damage is good, cast speed's alright but not really needed. So anything like that, as much of that as you can get. I would prioritize crit the spells because that's gonna increase it by quite a lot. And since generally speaking I try to make my crit chance match my crit damage, in that if you multiply your crit chance by 10 and you want it close to your crit damage. So once I grab the crit damage up here, Throat Seeker, I'll probably want at least like 38% crit at some point. So having that extra crit chance for your spells is really nice. But yeah, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is, show you this kind of janky, ultra cheap build in action on just throw Wasteland, because apparently I don't have the Atlas bonus actually completed. I don't know if I should be chiseling that, but alright, so we got vulnerability. This might be a little bit difficult since we're so... Okay, never mind. We do not have vulnerability. So we're just going to pop in here, see how it goes. And this build, or this video is a little bit rambly, so I apologize for that. So we get a lot of shatters, so those guys aren't really that big of a deal. And as you can see, the damage isn't that great on this particular map setup. I don't think there's any... Oh, okay, 41% more monster life. So there is that. These monsters are a lot tankier than they normally would be. The good thing about this is we use Volblade Vortex in order to increase our rate at killing the rare mobs or bosses or anything else we run into. And that is a lot better than the Blade Fall. I'm not going to Ghost. Yeah, you just mostly keep your flasks up, you pop through the map as quickly as you can. Oh yeah, and my Herald of Purity, I just started using it, so it's really low level, so I'm actually missing out on a lot of damage from that as well. So even keeping this level of budget, as long as you actually level up your Herald of Purity, going to be good. Normally you wouldn't want to pop into there if you weren't running a cold build, but luckily we very much are, so we can step in those porcupines. We don't have very high dodge chance, so when you get your 6-link body armor, try to make sure that it has high evasion and high life. You're going to want a much higher evasion numbers than what I have here. Alright, and... Whoa, that hurt. Try not to... It's hard to talk and play at the same time sometimes for me, but we're making it work. Alright, I think the boss is up here. I don't usually run this map very often, so I don't even remember who the boss is. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Another great upgrade for this is Taste of Hate, which gives you a percentage of your physical damage as extra cold, and it also makes it so that you take a portion of physical damage as cold, which will drastically increase your defenses since we don't have any armor. So, but that one is something like 16 chaos currently. So I might have to hold off on that one, but yeah, I'm basically just going to get to the boss and kill the boss here, hopefully, just in case I die, which is entirely possible because we're very squishy. Go ahead and pop that in there. But yeah, you get all of your different sources of cold resist reduction onto that. I'm going to wait for the multiple ones here to pop up, and I'm just going to drop Ball Blade Vortex. First going, try to avoid all the nonsense. Drop down Frost Bomb. Stay on the edge here. Oof. Alright, well, yeah, dying is a very real possibility on this one. But yeah, as you can see, we have a lot of opportunities to improve this character as well. So not only is this capable of, oh no, of clearing red maps on a shoestring budget, it has a lot more trouble on the bosses than it does on the trash, but oh, there you go. Alright, so yeah, even with our dodge and evasion, unfortunately we did die there, but that's what happens when you're in red maps with barely over 4,600 life. I walked right into that. Alright, well, let's take care of this guy with a Ball Blade Vortex. And almost dead. Alright, that's him. So, that was the build. A little sketchy, but it is certainly capable, and like I said, even when you take into account the Wise Oak, this whole build combined is worth less. Well, with the Wise Oak, maybe like 7 chaos. Without the Wise Oak, just a Diamond Flask, less than 5, well, probably like 3 chaos for the whole thing. So really cheap, really good way to get started. Absolutely flies through white and yellow maps, so you'll have plenty of opportunity, and does pretty well in Delve. So plenty of opportunity to make some money to get those upgrades. Just get a lot higher life on a lot of the gear. You can easily pass 5,500, and you can get, my dodge numbers are, I have 3,500 dodge or evasion, and that is incredibly low. So you can get that much higher. I hope you enjoyed the build. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I will see you next time. Bye!